Okay, today we're going to run through the feed water pump swap. We're going to follow the directions on the screen, verify current plant power. You can see that up here in the top left corner, reactor power is 48%, electric power is 42%. Okay, plant overview page, verify the current plant status. So I'm going to click the overview page. And this is where I find the plant status. I'll pause this for a minute so I can just talk about what we have going on. This is our reactor. These two guys are steam generators. A steam generator is a heat exchanger that takes hot water coming out of the reactor on the tube side, and on the shell side it takes feed water. It goes in through the steam generator and it turns into steam, where it's going to come out and go to the turbines. Here's our high pressure and low pressure turbines. It comes out through the condenser, where it exhausts steam, turns in back into water. These three pumps are our condensate pumps. Looks like we got some low pressure feed water heaters here, and then we've got the feed pumps. Feed pumps are going to take it and push the water back to the steam generator through the high pressure feed water heaters. We're concerned with the feed water pumps today, so that's where we're going to go. So I'm clicking in the vicinity of the main feed water pumps. Now I'm at the steam generator feed water HMI. The status of the main feed water pumps. These are our pumps, P1 alpha, P1 bravo. You can see the red color of the P1 alpha means that it's running. P1 bravo is yellow. It's also running, but it's in manual. So red is in auto, yellow is in manual. See that verified by the speed controller as well. Labeled alpha for auto for alpha, manual for bravo. And here we got a couple of parameters that we're able to see. 8,000 to 1,000 pounds per hour and 469 pounds. That's suction pressure. On alpha bravo pump we got 2,000 pounds per hour and 500 pounds suction pressure. When we do this test, we're not going to be able to see discharge pressure, but I'll give you a rundown of the lineup as long as I've got you on here. So we saw in the other window, the suction of the feed pumps actually comes from the discharge of the condensate pumps. So that's where these are connected to. You can see that arrow says condensate. That's where the water is coming from. On alpha feed water pump, which is running an automatic and running at full speed, that's actually feeding the steam generator. So you can see here's a discharge valve, and this is the minimum flow valve. It's green color indicates that it's closed, and the zero below it, that's 0% open. So this is a throttle valve. It's automatically controlled. You can see it on here. It's got a set point of 2,500 1,000 pounds per hour, which means that it's going to allow that much flow back to the condenser to prevent deadheading the feed water pump. So as we spin up a feed water pump, if it's not discharging, or if it's not feeding the steam generator yet, it's going to cause you need to let the water go somewhere. So the minimum flow valve's job is to send it back to the condenser if you're not ready to feed yet. It's set at 2,500 pounds per hour, or 1,000 pounds per hour, and since our flow is 8,000 pounds per hour, that's why the valve is closed. You can see that Bravo has a full open min flow valve. That's because if we got 2,000 pounds per hour going through that pump, and so that's below the set point. We'll double check it's the same set point. It's the same set point, approximately 2,500. So what we'll see once we start spinning P1 Bravo up is we'll see the minimum flow valve will start to throttle closed once we get more than 2,500 1,000 pounds per hour. So my step of the procedure that I'm on is to go to Bravo main feed water pump speed control, use the increase arrow to increase the speed. I'm going to show you a couple parameters while we do that. So just so you have a sense of what we're looking at, this is the suction flow for alpha steam generator feed pump. I'm going to click on this area and it's going to bring up a better trend. I'm going to close this window and I'm going to click right here to make the trend a more usable band. And it's going to auto scale as the flow rate changes. I'll bring up the suction pressure as well. This is the suction pressure of Bravo main feed pump. And we're going to watch what happens as I raise the pump speed. So I'm clicking the main feed pump turbine Bravo speed controller. That's going to bring up my control window. We can see it's currently running at 1124 RPM, and it's in manual. So manual is highlighted there in green, and we've got decrease and increase buttons, left and right arrows. I'm going to press and hold the increase button to get speed up to 2250 RPM. And what we see over here in steam generator feed water pump Bravo suction flow, raising the speed caused the suction flow to go up, and it caused the suction pressure to go down. Remember that suction pressure goes down as you are pumping harder. You can think of that visual that I described elsewhere in the class, like when you're sucking through a straw. The water at the suction end, the pressure goes down. That's what causes it to move through the straw. Now you can see the simulator just reset itself. It's going to want us to do the actual procedure now. So that was considered just a familiarization. Let me give you another little rundown of the steam generator feed pumps. So if you follow my mouse, you see alpha feed pump is feeding. That's the discharge valve, which is open. It goes through these feed water heaters, continues and continues, and it goes to steam generator number 1 and number 2, which are back here. The steam generator pressure, you can see up here, is about 1,100 pounds. That's actually the discharge pressure that the feed pump needs to get to in order to push the water into the steam generator. So alpha feed pump has a discharge pressure of approximately 1,100 pounds. And what you can't see in the drawing is downstream of this discharge valve on each pump, there is a check valve. Remember that check valves allow flow in one direction only. So alpha discharge check valve is wide open. The flow that's coming out of alpha pump is holding it open, and that's what's going into the steam generator. Now the discharge pressure of alpha pump is also going in this direction, and it's pushing against the downstream side of the Bravo feed pump check valve. So that pressure, 1,100 pounds or so, is actually maintaining the check valve closed on Bravo main feed pump, which is why we will see all of the flow going through the minimum flow valve to the condenser until we raise the speed sufficiently to overcome that the downstream pressure that the alpha is putting on the check valve. Okay, the first step is to slowly raise the feed water pump speed to 3600 RPM. I'm going to click to this advice. And this is telling you about what I just told you. Alpha's running at 5000 RPM, so Bravo's not developing enough head to cause the discharge check valve to open. Once we get to around 3600 RPM, the recirculation valve will close. That's what they call the min-flow valve. And we'll start to see when we raise the pump speed even more, water actually goes into the steam generator. So I'll pull up a trend of steam generator level while we're doing this. This is steam generator level. It's measured in percent. Now while we do this part of the procedure, I'm going to actually pull up the Alpha and Bravo pump parameters so we can watch how they move in tandem. You can see this gets to be a little bit unwieldy. You really got to play around with this to get a nice setup that you like. Okay, so I'm going to slowly increase the feed water pump speed to 3600 RPM. That's the Bravo feed pump. Now when I think slowly, I'm going to do it in about 3-second chunks and wait for 10 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003. And you can see Bravo steam generator feed pump flow is going up. You see that didn't really have an effect on steam generator level, and that's because the discharge check valve is still closed and we're still 100% open on our recirculation valve. So all the flow that's coming out of the feed pump is still going to the main condenser, even though we've risen from about 2,000 to about 2,100 gallons per minute. I'm sorry, 1,000 pounds per hour. 1001, 1002, 1003. Again, you see the suction pressure going down. We talked about that before. Suction pressure does initially go down as you raise the pump speed, especially because you're still kind of deadheading it against this discharge check valve that you can't see on the schematic that's being held shut by the alpha feed pump discharge pressure. One 1001, 1002, 1003. You can see alpha steam generator feed water pump flow has not really been affected yet. It's wiggling a bit, but it's still staying in a pretty narrow band. Meanwhile, the suction pressure on both pumps is going down together, and that's because they draw from a common header. 1001, 1002, 1003. You can see how the recirculation valve just turned green and red. In the industry, we call that dual indication. It's just showing that it's an intermediate position. It looks like 98% open. So we're around the set point now, 90,000 pounds per hour. Getting to that set point of flow on the Bravo pump, that's what causes our recirc valve to open. Remember, I'll show you that again. It has a set point of 2592. As I do this next one, I think we're going to start to see that open pretty good, and keep an eye on steam generator level. I'm going to hold it for 3 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003. You see, we got 3,700 RPM, so that the computer realized we're on the next step. It moved on to the next step automatically. We're going to continue to slowly increase the Bravo feed water pump speed, monitoring the discharge pressure compared with Alpha feed water pump. And again, the way we monitor the discharge pressure is by the position of this recirc valve, which is indicating what the check valve is doing. Again, this is telling us that we're about to see the steam generator level rise. Keep an eye on that in the left corner. I'm not going to go for a full 3 seconds this time. I'm going to go for 2 because now that we're getting ready to start feeding into the steam generator, we have to go even slower than before. 1001, 1002. Okay, you see that min flow? Now it's only about 70% open, 80%. You can see we actually just injected water to the steam generator. Gone from 54 to 54.2%, which is a more significant change than we've seen so far. You can see that alpha is actually, flow rate has gone down. That's because it's controlling in automatic to maintain steam generator level. So it gets an input from steam generator level, and that tells the alpha pump how fast to spin and how much water to pump. So when we go slowly, we're letting all the logic and all the controls respond to the change that we're making. (1001), 1002. See, we're now about 40% open on this min flow valve. We're just about to have that discharge valve, or that check valve, closed. Okay, you can see we're at 0%. We're now green, which matches the alpha pump, which means we're putting out enough flow that we can actually go to the steam generator instead of going back to the condenser. So we're putting out enough discharge head to hold that check valve open, and now we're feeding the steam generator from both feed pumps, Alpha and Bravo. (1001), 1002. Again, we see the flow go up on Bravo pump, and the flow on Alpha pump goes down. That's because it's controlled in automatic. Oh, I forgot to point this out when it happened, but take a look back here at Bravo suction pressure. When we opened that discharge check valve, suction pressure actually went up, and that's because the discharge pressure went up. So when that check valve opened, now we have 1,100 pounds, which is steam generator pressure, putting back pressure on the discharge side of our pump. And so Pascal's law says that that pressure will be continue applied to this section as well. That's why suction pressure actually went up once the discharge check valve opened. Okay, looks like we just need a little bit more. I'm going to raise speed. Now you can actually see that alpha recirc valve is starting to open. As we continue to raise speed, we're going to eventually get that 100% open. So the ultimate goal is to have a swapped lineup where Bravo is the one feeding an automatic, and Alpha will be standing by. I'm going to raise speed again and just watch that control valve on the alpha pump continue to open. Okay, so it's telling us the next step is time to place the Bravo main feed water pump control in auto. Once we do that, you can see it's going to slow down because the set point for auto is 4,200 RPM. Let's watch that happen. I'm going to go to auto on the Bravo feed water pump. Okay, so Bravo is slowing down. You can see it's feeding less, Alpha's feeding more to maintain that steam generator level as constant as possible. We'll give the system a little bit of time to respond. Now the computer wants us to open the Alpha main feed water pump controller. I'll do that now. This is Alpha, and it wants us to place Alpha in manual. So you can see it's got the same set point, about 4,200 RPM, as the Bravo. Currently running in auto. I'm going to take it to manual. Okay, using the Alpha feed water pump control, slowly decrease pump speed while monitoring levels. So I'm going to do the opposite of what I just got done doing, which is I'm going to lower the speed of Alpha pump so that it stops feeding. I'll go 3 seconds at a time just like before. 1001, 1002, 1003. Okay, you can see the recirculation valve starting to open. I'm going to go a little bit more slower. Watch the recirc valve. We're at 40% open. Again, Alpha's not pushing as much water, so Bravo is pushing more. That's because Bravo now is in automatic. So it changes all by itself along with when we make changes to Alpha. That's to maintain, again, steam generator level at that set point of 54%. You can see we're about 75% open. So Alpha feed pump is not feeding much. Its flow is 2,100,000 pounds per hour. That's, again, mostly going through the minimum flow valve back to the condenser. Hardly any of it's going to the steam generator at this time. That's why our changes aren't having that much of an impact on steam generator level. Alright, you can see we're just about full open on the recirc valve for alpha pump. So I'm going to do the last step on the procedure, which is to lower alpha feed water pump to its standby speed of 2250 RPM. You can see we're pretty close to there already, about 2700. So we're just going to come down one more time. And the computer is going to tell us that we're done. You've completed the lesson.